Hey, welcome back to the Baltimore Comic Con. I'm Sal, talking with 30-year vet Matt Wagner. How you doing, man?
30-year vet Matt Wagner. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I love this show. I've come here many, many times. I love the vibe of this show. It's real high energy. It's all comics.
Yes.
And, it's just a great con.
Yeah, it's one of the few cons that I've been to where it's just it's all about the comics.
Yeah, and not only that, the guy who runs the show, Mark Nathan, I've been coming here since almost their first or second, probably their second or third actually. And I remember we were, after the last night, one night, we were in a bar together and having a few drinks, and he just swore to me up and down, he's like, this show is always going to be all comics. It's always going to be about comics, you know. And he's stuck to that.
That was year one, yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely delivered on that promise.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What are some of your influences, both in comics and fine arts in general?
I tend to like fine arts that have a great sense of drama to them. I also tend to like stuff that's very design heavy. Even though I appreciate the work of the great illustrators, the Howard Piles, Joseph Clement Call, that sort of thing, I tend to gravitate in that realm more towards somebody like N.C. Wyeth, whose stuff had just a bold simplicity to it that really reflects in my stuff. In the comics field, I've always loved Alex Toth. And I have to say, you know, this seems to be a of the moment sort of thing, but Joe Kubert's run on Tarzan had such a significant effect on my style of storytelling. I actually had a subscription back in the day when I was 13 or something like that. And I was just telling somebody the other day, I'll never forget, they used to come in the mail in a brown paper wrapper that was just a sleeve. It wasn't an envelope. And I would look forward to getting it every month. And then DC went through some budget cutting, and they started shipping their subscription comics folded in half in a smaller sleeve.
Oh my God.
It was so disappointing when that showed up. But Joe's absolute clarity and the way he knew how to mix up a page, and again, the simplicity. If you go through and look at that Tarzan stuff, he chose his moments when he was going to draw the jungle.
Yeah.
And then other panels, there's nothing there, and yet you still think you're looking at the jungle.
Yeah.
And it's a great I don't even want to call it visual trick, it's just a visual strength.
What's some of your work over your vast career that you're the most proud of, would you say, at this point?
Well, Mage and Grendel, I mean, they're my own thing, and they are just the polar halves of my brain,
right.
You know. One is about the fear of responsibility and growing up and how you have to step up and do that whether you like it or not. And the other is about, great potential that atrophies and can turn on you and turn on the world. I enjoy whatever I'm working on when I'm working on it. I'm really good at, like, all right, now I'm Green Hornet. Okay,
right.
Now I'm Zorro. Okay, now I'm... I mean, obviously, I love those singular lone Avenger sort of characters. I've never really been drawn to
like team stuff.
Yeah. I'm an only child, so
there you go. I don't see the value in working with others.
But I tend to just love whatever I'm working on. And I'm always kind of on to the next thing. I always find the next thing a terrific challenge. I have none of my own art on display in my house. Because once I'm done with it, I'm on to the next one. If I had a piece up, and it might be a great piece of mine, all I would focus on is
that piece,
that little square. No, that little square that I don't like. Because in every one of them, there's a little square I don't like.
Gotcha.
And that's all I would notice.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I can't be tied down like that. I have to be free to just go explore and make that square better next time.
Talking about your most recent work, the Tower
Chronicles.
Tower Chronicles. Sorry.
Well, and that's just a tiny little preview. That's just the first two scenes. That's almost like
it's just a taste.
Trailer. Yeah,
it is a trailer. Yeah, exactly.
It's a blast. I mean, it was a big challenge in that it's the first time that I co-created something with someone else in that fashion.
Right. Yes, I recall someone comes to you with an idea.
Yes, the guy that owns Legendary Entertainment.
Yes,
and he had an idea for a character, but it was just a vague idea. It was up to me to kind of flesh it out and make it full. And the more I talked to Tom, his name's Thomas Tull. The more I talked to Thomas, I kept throwing things on the table. Okay, well that leads us to this sort of narrative point, and that would take us here. And the story just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
The character starts off very aloof.
Yeah.
We don't know him very well. I don't even know if we like him very well in the first issue. As we go further and further and further, we realize what a deeply passionate soul he is, and there's a deep sense of romance throughout the book, and that's not evident in the beginning at all. Yeah. And I I got to play with history a lot. That'll become evident as the book goes on. And Simon Bisley's just a fabulous artist.
Yeah, it's really
And you know, as with a lot of my stuff, I love to genre mash.
Okay.
So this is kind of horror, kind of costume adventure, kind of fantasy. It's none of those things distinctly. It's all of those things amalgamated.
Cool.
And when I'm working on stuff, I never stop to think, you know, oh, I can't put this in there because this is a horror story.
Right.
I just go where
make it work.
Right.
As long as it works.
Right.
You don't need to be tied down by a genre.
Right.
type.
Exactly. Yep.
So you've worked in, I'm sure, both print and digital as far as your art is concerned.
No, I'm old school.
Really? Just stay with the pencils?
I'm analog. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you find that
I also have a butter churn and a horse and buggy at home.
Yeah. Sundial for like
exactly.
a little late to places, but that's okay. What do you see? What keeps you there? What keeps you from maybe delving into or dabbling with?
Well, I just never. I've always been so busy. My slate is always full storytelling wise, and I've never just kind of had the time to learn the digital medium. And that doesn't stop me from telling stories.
No.
It stops me from rendering them in a certain way.
Exactly.
But if I want that experience, I just work with a more contemporary artist who renders it for me. I'm luckily in that I can write and draw.
Yeah.
And I'm known for both. But from my standpoint, I just love the sensuality of a real piece of art. I love the sensuality of pencils. In fact, I usually use wooden pencils.
Excellent. Yes.
Just like the way they feel in my hand.
Yeah.
You know? I love ink. I love paint. But I'm not trying to detract at all from the beauty of digital art. It's just kind of what turns me on. The same way as I don't read things on a Kindle, or I still like books. I like the tactile quality of holding that volume in my hands.
Yeah.
When you have a Kindle, the length of the narrative is somewhat invisible to you.
It's true. Yeah.
Whereas when you're holding a book, you get a feel for how thick this story is.
There's a sense of finality there.
Yes.
You know that there's a conclusion coming.
Yeah, you're not just digging deeper into pages.
Exactly.
There's
excitement.
There's adrenaline running through you, and you're like, how is this going to end?
Exactly.
So I dig that experience.
Yeah. Do you find that there will be a place, or that there is a place for digital distribution, or is it kind of like?
No, definitely, for sure. Most of my stuff's available now on digital. And I have no trouble with it. It's usually translated pretty well, I think. I think it looks better on an iPad than on a phone, but that's just size.
I don't have any comic reader apps on my phone. I know I can get them, and because why?
Small.
Yeah, like I'll bring my comic with me if I really need to.
It's a cool novelty.
Yes.
But I think it looks better on the iPad.
You're looking at it panel by panel.
Yeah.
And it's like, All right, cool.
Yeah, which I don't know if you've ever looked at them that way too. It calls for some translation decisions. Oh. And they're usually pretty good, where
they choose the narrative. Yeah.
You're looking at this corner of the panel first, and then it'll pull back to show you this part. Yeah. That's kind of fun.
It is. It's cool to see someone else's interpretation of what you're experiencing. All right. Anything you want to tease for the future that you want to talk about, or?
Well, the Tower Chronicles is the thing for now, and again, it's a pretty vast story. Each volume is a 68-page prestige-size edition.
Oh, cool.
There's ultimately going to be 3 books. It'll be a trilogy. Each book is 4 of those volumes. So this will be 12 prestige-size editions. So it's a big, chunky saga.
That sounds like a saga. Yeah, it's like your epic. Yeah.
And we're far into it. I'm done with the first 2 books.
Oh, great.
I'm done with the first 8 prestige volumes.
Yeah.
Simon Bisley, the artist, is done with the first 3 art-wise. So we're well into it, and it just keeps getting funner and bigger, and I just keep trying to come up. Oh God, wouldn't it be great to see Simon draw this?
Matt Wagner, Baltimore Comic Con. Thanks a lot for talking with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
So anyway, that was Matt Wagner talking about the
One more time.
One more time.
Third time.
This is for the blooper reel.